This was a beetle that was crawling on me, and when I picked it off, I accidentally squished it. I don't know what kind of bug it is. So this is a painting I've been working on for a long time, and since 2003, so like 16 years. Except I haven't really worked on it for several years, but it's here every day. I look at it, I think about it. I still collect mountains of material for it. I could make it 1,000 times over at this point, probably. um, but anyway, why this is pertinent to this little story is that when I bought this canvas, some canvases in the past I'd made myself. This canvas I'd made myself to fit in size with a canvas someone else had given me when I was making a triptych. But this canvas I bought, and I can't remember how much it was. Like if it was like $100 bucks, $120, $60, I can't remember. But the place I got it, it was an art store, framing store, and hot sauce store. Like it was one of the biggest hot sauce stores in the country, I think. And it was like all to do with framing, all to do with art, and a wall of hot sauces. Because the guy made hot sauce and he liked hot sauce. And I mean that's just like one of the weirdest things you could ever put together. Art supplies, frames, and hot sauce. You know, and you had like the hot sauces you had to sign waivers for, and I remember you had one called Ass Reaper. I mean, they had all kinds of crazy names. They're from all over the country, all over the world. Art supplies and hot sauce. That lady's eye is an upside down monkey. That's probably grabbing his head. That's probably my favorite part of the whole painting. Hard to see here, but anyway. And the reason why that's pertinent to what I'm really trying to talk about is I've been working on my little cube, inner shapes of a cube thing, and when I got this clear stuff, this clear, I guess it was called glass paper at the store, but it comes, it has plastic on each side so you can draw on it and then peel the plastic off. But anyway, I got that down at the pharmacy / craft book store. So it was a store dedicated to craft booking, and it's a pharmacy. It has some small grocery items and a very large selection of previously viewed DVDs and new DVDs. And I just thought that, actually I thought that at first was like kind of a crazy, like scrapbook and pharmacy. Like what a weird store. But then I got to thinking about it, and it's like, well, sick people go to the pharmacy, probably all kinds of people who are like disabled and all that kind of thing. And actually a scrapbook store, that's like great, like for people who might not have a hobby, or even if they do, like to give them something to do and a way to express themselves with all this stuff that's like, you just collage it together. And it's like infinitely expressive using, pre-made images and papers and sizes and books, and like that's actually a really great combination. Like pretty smart, and it's a good idea, but it still sounds funny. Anyway, so I'm still working on this guy. It's a little out of whack because of already accumulated error, and because I'm not taking into account the thickness of my materials as I'm making them. I'm kind of building them just as if they were planes, and try to correct for that however best I can. And
this idea is ridiculous. Spending billions and billions on a time machine whose very existence defies logic. I might well lose. Well, Mr. Massachusetts,
I'm still,
Mr. Harvard
I'm starting to build an octahedron kind of on the inside there. It's just a pyramid now. But And the first one I made it opaque, and it was the wrong size because I made it root 6/3. Side length instead of a root 2/2 side length, which is the same as this here. And all of these individual triangles, you know, are the same size as this triangle, so this big triangle has 1, 2, 3, 4 of these smaller ones. So I guess this is just basic platonic solids and how they fit together. Of course, what I'm really interested in again is trying to figure out the icosahedral view. I'm trying to figure out how that ties together with isometric drawings. Trying to figure out how that all plays out. And this would look a little more regular of a hexagon if there weren't perspective. And then here you can see how the octahedron, the root 2 length, or the root 2/2 length, associates with making a diagonal. You know, this is 1 by 1. Whole cube is 1 by 1 by 1. So in the middle you have this half by half square, and so you get a root 2/2 diagonal, which is what that edge is on. So anyway, that's where I'm at with that, and I'm still pretty far off from what I'd originally been trying to do. But I figured out ways to make a little better of constructions than I've made before. They're still pretty rudimentary, you know, scotch tape and manila folders, but you know, maybe as time goes on this will help inform me of how to make better structures, so that I can, you know, learn more, and I don't know, maybe someday I'd actually make something that like did something. Anyway, that's where I'm at with that.
Okay. Anything wrong?
New data makes a man. ANC and TMG. The alphabet of you. All from 4 symbols. And only 2. 1 and 0.
Half as much, but twice as elegant, sweetheart.
You don't prefer your madam?
You listening?
Maybe. You didn't like her enough to tell her the truth. 6, 10, and 21.
There's nothing to tell.
How many times have you told me that story? Your memory. The day it carved Japanese. 6, 10, and 21. Coincidence?
So, yeah, I finished the octahedron.
I always knew you were special.
It's just scotch tape, so it's not perfect, but these points
A child.
touch the cube at the center of the sides, and that's the nature of a octahedron embedded in a cube. I made another video and I have a drawing elsewhere of I'm not sure if cubes and octahedron are really structured that way. If they're both inside a sphere, then they don't touch at all, and they're kind of more like the same size-ish. But anyway, I guess this still kind of happens in some way. And now this, as you can see, the top triangle creates a plane parallel with the base, as also this inner manila triangle is a plane, and another one of those flipped upside down would fit on the top of this thing. And for that matter, the manila structure I made, where it's a root 2, root 2, root 2 equilateral triangle with the 1, 1, 1 sides, so like a tetrahedral pyramid of sorts, I guess. I guess I could have also separated that differently with more of these root 2 over 2 triangles instead of these other triangles. But this is the way I did it. So, overall, I'm pleased. But again, I'm getting a little off the point in trying to figure out the icosahedral view and how that relates to the drawings I'm interested in. But it's like while I'm here making these things, trying to figure it out, like I said before, you know, I'm learning new ways to build things, and also, I remember I used to date this woman. I didn't know, always think it at the time, but overall, a really very pleasant person. And anyway, I remember she'd said she was a manager of a store, and in some of her training, a book they gave her in training or something, they mentioned that like adult learners have to be exposed to something 7 times before they remember. I would guess it's more like 70 or 700, you know, and it's the idea that like adult learners don't learn as much as kids. But then you think, well, how many times does a kid hear the word the before they speak the word the, you know? I mean, 7 million times, who knows? But like, somebody knows out there, and then somebody out there shaking their finger like, I know. But anyway, I have become a little more familiar. I mean, 6 root 3 is obviously very, well, I keep saying 6 root 3 instead of root 6 over 3. 6 root 3 is the surface area of this object if these side lengths are 1, which are a different length than the one I've used here. As time goes on, I'm going to have to come up with some standardized units so that when I keep building things, they all fit together. You know, and today I was watching a Dan Winter video, and like I've been using the Hopper Lightfoot as kind of a standard for some of my cycles per second hertz sound experiments, which I guess I'm going to get to on this at some point probably as well. But then I've also heard of, and I can't remember if it's the heavy side or the Steinmetz light second, you know, but anyway, Dan Winter, and this is something that I was curious about before too, is like the second as a measure of time, like who says that's right? And Dan Winter, I guess, has reformulated the measure of time so that it's fractally harmonic with the cosmos. That's about as much as I understood from what he said, but you know, so I'll have to learn about that. And obviously the Planck distance in his world is like a really important distance. Planck constant, something to do with Planck constant and the radius of hydrogen. golden ratio. Golden ratio, Planck constant. But anyway, so yeah, 6/3 is the surface area of this guy, which I made a kind of cool video on before as a 6/3 Lightfoot Hertz video. But anyway, yeah, it's root 6/3 is big here, as is 6√2, or I'm sorry, root 6/4, root 6/2, 2 root 3/3. So I'm starting to familiarize myself a little more with these, and that's again based on this side length. And that's what it always comes down to when you come down to all these nested things. Like, what do you define as one? You know? So in some sense, it's like, well, I'll have to redefine all of these different side lengths and line segments as one and figure out how things go back and forth to each other. But I guess if you have 1 to root 6/3, then if you make your root 6/3 your 1, you know, there's this inverse relation or however it is, but it's aggravating. And I guess I always think of like the radius of a sphere, but then what's size sphere? And who says that spheres, like maybe there are 2 different size spheres that make up everything, and that's it. You know, or maybe there's 1 size sphere, or maybe there's, you know, as many as there are prime numbers, in so much as they can build within the cosmos, within a certain time frame. I mean, I don't know, but
Do your fucking job. Find the child.
But anyway, that's where I'm at with this guy. I finished the octahedron. Not where I was intending to go, but once again, the patterns of the day. And when I leave my man cave during the day, you know, I go here or there, down to the store or whatever, and all of a sudden, the environment informs me, and I end up doing something I wasn't gonna do because my interpretation, as a reluctant symbolist, my interpretation of the situation informs me as to what I'm going to do. And it's aggravating as fuck, but I'll leave it at that. Pretty! Yeah. Some of I guess my interest in making this video specifically, though, as you can see in certain places where the bubbles seem to kind of magnetize toward each other, and I'm not saying that that's what they're doing, but I'll try to make another video of it the next time I make a batch. But it looks almost like a film, but it's like a film of bubbles sticking together. And not that there isn't some kind of film as well, but I just think it's interesting how some of these bubbles, and I'm mixing 2 ferments here, a watermelon and a blueberry. It's something about, they're both bubbly on their own, but something about mixing them seems to take away a little bit of the effervescence of the liquids. And they're both a week old. The watermelon I've poured off several times and added more water to, so that's basically more or less white now. Yeah, I was just kind of interested in the way the bubbles congregate, and I know in fermentations you get a lot of carbon dioxide, but I've also heard it said that you get peroxides, hydrogen peroxide, in some ferments, and I'm just kind of curious about the different types of bubbles. And of course, you know, Guinness, their bubbles are nitrogen, I believe, and I don't know. It just seems like there's all different kinds of you know, gases and so on when you're dealing with fermentations, and never mind the different species of bacteria and yeasts and molds, and I could only imagine whatever else. And basically my interest in that is related to my interest in how, you know, what's happening in our individual cells, and You know, I'm curious if our like anaerobic respiration need it be the way that it is. Maybe it is, and considering I don't understand it at all, maybe just the question will lead me to understand it as it is and as it can't be any other way. But being as though there's so many types of fermentation, and you know, it's all we hear about it all the time now, lacto. You know, and if it's not lacto fermentation, it's some other sort of sour or acidic fermentation, but then there are basic fermentations as well. I know brie cheese is one, and then I've heard of the stinky ammoniated beans of some part of Asia. I can't remember where that food's indigenous to, but supposedly it's an ammoniated stinky bean ferment, and that seems very interesting to me as well. But anyway, yeah, in this case I'm just interested in what's going on with these bubbles and the way in which they're drawn to one another. As I said, it was better before, and then I decided to make a recording, and I'd already kind of poured off the bubbles that were the most interesting, so I'll try to do it again some other time.